Have you ever stopped to think about how your favorite coffee gets into your cup like perfectly every single time? Or how a massive skyscraper gets built? Or, how that thing you ordered online shows up at your door in like 2 days? It feels like magic, right? Well, it's not. It's this incredibly powerful discipline working behind the scenes. So let's dive into this often invisible world of operations management.
I mean, just look at the sheer complexity of a structure like this. You've got thousands of moving parts, people, materials, a million tiny decisions. How does it all come together? Well, that's the answer we're after. It's operations management, which is really the art and science of getting things done efficiently and effectively. And we're about to pull back the curtain on this unseen engine.
All right, so first things first, what exactly are we talking about when we say operations management? You'll often hear it called OM for short.
At its very core, it's this. Operations management is the part of a business that's responsible for managing the whole process of creation. It doesn't matter if it's a physical product like a car or a service like a haircut. OM is all about taking inputs, things like materials and labor, and turning them into outputs as efficiently as you possibly can. And when you do that, you're directly boosting the company's bottom line. It's that critical.
Now, I love this slide because it shows you that OM isn't just some department off in a corner. It's the central hub. It's that sweet spot right in the middle where a company's day-to-day processes, its financial realities, and all its technology have to meet and work together. Operations managers, well, they live right there in that intersection, making sure everything is humming along in perfect sync.
So, if OM is the hub, let's pop the hood and look at the engine it manages. This is what's known as the transformation process, and I guarantee you it's fundamental to every single business on the planet.
Okay, so everything has to start with inputs. The easiest way to think about these is like the raw ingredients for a recipe. You need people, that's the man, for labor and skills. You need raw material to work with, you need machines to do the heavy lifting, money to fund the whole thing, and critically, you need information to guide the entire process. Next up is the actual cooking part. This is the transformation stage. This is where you take all those raw inputs and you shape them, you refine them. You do things like designing the product, planning out the step-by-step process, and controlling production to make sure the quality is there. This is where the real value gets created.
And of course, what comes out of that transformation? The output. This is the finished meal, ready for the customer. Either a tangible product you can actually hold in your hand, or an intangible service that you experience.
And this visual just illustrates that whole cycle so perfectly. You take inputs, you run them through a transformation to get outputs. But, and this is the most important part, look at those feedback arrows. It's not a one-way street. Information from the final product, from the process itself, from things like inventory levels, it all flows back to constantly refine and improve both the inputs and the transformation. It's a continuous loop of creation and improvement.
Okay, so now we get the core engine. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the entire roadmap. What does an operations manager's world actually look like from a bird's eye view?
This roadmap gives you a sense of the sheer scope of it all. See, an operations manager isn't just watching one little assembly line. They are juggling all of these deeply connected systems. A decision about new technology might affect your HR training, which then impacts your quality control. A change in the supply chain could totally alter your facility logistics. It's all one big interconnected puzzle.
So with so many interconnected parts, how do managers make the best possible decisions? I mean, just relying on a gut feeling isn't going to cut it when the stakes are this high. This is where operations management gets really scientific.
The secret weapon in their toolkit is something called operations research, or OR for short. You can think of this as the analytical brain of operations management. It's designed to bring hard data and scientific methods to really complex business problems.
And the name itself tells you everything you need to know. Operations just refers to all the activities of the organization. The stuff we're trying to improve. And research refers to that scientific process of observing, building models, and testing solutions to find the absolute best one. It's literally applying the scientific method to business. So what this really is a structured way to make decisions. It uses tools from applied math and statistics to find the optimal answers to problems that have a ton of variables and constraints. Things like, what's the cheapest possible delivery route? Or how can we schedule our employees in the most effective way?
And the goal here is crystal clear. It is all about optimization. You use OR to maximize all the good stuff.
profit, sales, efficiency, and to minimize all the bad stuff, losses, risks, and costs. It basically turns these really complex trade-offs into a math problem where there's a clear best answer.
So that's the what and the why. But how do people actually do it? Let's walk through the 7-step playbook they use to tackle these kinds of complicated problems.
It follows this really logical 7-step framework. First, you've got to identify and really define the problem. Then you figure out your alternative solutions and set the criteria you're going to use to judge them. After you evaluate those alternatives, you choose the best one. Now those first 5 steps, that's the core of the decision-making process. The last 2 are all about execution. You implement the solution, and then you evaluate the results to see if it actually worked.
Now, that 4th step, evaluate the alternatives, that's where the really heavy-duty math comes in. Analysts use a whole range of techniques. For example, linear programming helps you get the most out of limited resources. They might use the transportation problem to find the absolute cheapest shipping routes, or run a computer simulation to test a new factory layout virtually before spending millions to actually build it.
But let's be real, it's not a magic bullet. We have to be realistic. Operations research can be super expensive. The models are only as good as the data you feed into them. And sometimes they can be too objective, ignoring important and tangible things like employee morale or company culture. So yeah, it's an incredibly powerful tool, but it doesn't replace the need for experienced human judgment.
So there you have it. From the grandest skyscraper all the way down to your morning coffee run, operations management is that unseen engine making it all happen. It gives us a framework for turning inputs into outputs and a scientific toolkit for making everything run just a little bit better, which kind of leaves one final thought. Now that you know the framework, what's an inefficient process in your own daily life, and how would you start to redesign it?